Day. I love this day. It's the first day of class, which means, in Little School of Big Change lingo in our terms, it means this is the day when the first section of content opens up. So, in the Little School of Big Change, we have a core curriculum full of a bunch of lessons, animations, quotes, stories, all kinds of things. We have an advanced curriculum that you go through in the second half of the course, full of even more short lessons and conversations and quotes and stories and things like that. And it's dripped out over the 6 weeks. And so today, if you enroll now, and for everyone who's enrolled before, they wake up to the first batch of content. So they're watching about an hour's worth of content today. And they also have the forum available to them. And our forum is not on Facebook. It's a totally private forum within the Little School of Big Change website. So, what the first day of school means in our terms is that I go into the forum and there's all kinds of people there. And I love it. They're introducing themselves, they're saying, what they've read and where they came from, how they found their way to the school, what they're wanting to see change in the next 6 weeks. And we're welcoming them and starting to answer some questions. Some people are showing up with some really big questions right off the bat. Others are just like, I don't know, but show me what you have to show me. And it's really exciting. It's such a fun time. I love, this week for me, I'm answering a ton of emails, having a ton of conversations, doing things like this, doing a webinar tomorrow still. But really trying to clear my calendar as much as humanly possible to just be in that forum and just welcome everyone and start to get everyone sort of see things in a similar way. And it's really fun. It's just really nice to see people come in and be so excited. So, yes, so happy first day of school. And I want to just take this time to answer any questions you have. So if you're joining live, please go ahead and pop your questions here. And hopefully I can see them. I'll see them as they come up. If I can't see them for whatever reason, I'll for sure address them after this is over. I have a bunch of questions that have been sent that people have asked before. But yeah, I think I should be able to see them. So if you're joining live, I don't know, for some reason I can't see the comment section right now, but there we go. I should be able to see some. So if you have questions, pop them in there and I would love to address them for you. So let me kick us off by speaking to some of the questions that have been sent. And so, like usual, there's always kind of a mix of questions. Some are big questions, like, can the school help me with fill in the blank? And others are more logistical questions. So I'll see if I can kind of mix them throughout and hopefully answer everything that you might be wondering about. But again, feel free to put yours in at any time. So let's see. So one of the biggest questions, and it's not even, this is a big one to start with. Maybe I shouldn't start here, but I already said it, so I will. It's not even so much a question as much as just a concern that people have, a thing that I think weighs heavily on us, and it certainly weighed heavily on me all the time whenever I would try something new when I was really struggling. And it is along the lines of, I have tried everything. How is this different? I've done it all. I've tried it all. Why in the world would I try one more thing? And I hear you. I get it. And me too. And again, so many people send that question. I'm watching a squirrel fall out of the tree right in front of me. So many people have that question. So many people struggle with that. And I want you to see something about this. Now, the way our mind works is it only knows to go back in time. Now, it for sure goes into the future, but it makes up the future. And it goes back in time. It moves along this linear line. It goes back in time and it remembers in a very, very, very biased way what happened in the past. And then it takes that very biased set of memories and throws them into the future and predicts some kind of outcome in the future for us. This is just what a human mind does. All the time, all human minds, it's just how they work. So we can always see, looking to the past, why we should doubt. We can always see what's gone wrong, and again, in our very biased view, we can always see what hasn't worked, what's gone wrong, and make some kind of prediction or projection about how that thing is likely to go wrong in the future. We can always see what's happened and kind of toss it into the future. We aren't so good at seeing what hasn't happened. We're horrible at that. We can't see what's possible, really, especially when we don't even really truly know what's possible. We just can't see that. We see in kind of what's in the database in our own heads, and we might make a few tweaks to that. We might hold it a little bit loosely, but really still, most of what we predict about the future, remember about the past, it's so incredibly biased. And so it makes perfect sense, absolute perfect sense, that we would say, I've tried everything. I did these 7 things, they didn't help me. Therefore, this new thing is not likely to help me either. And I just want you to see that that's just exactly what a mind would say. And really, much more important than that, I want you to see that you haven't done this. Like this, whatever this is, looking in this totally new direction, really like asking yourself, letting me ask you and guide you through this exploration of, what if you're actually okay? What if all of this experience that scares you and has you caught up and feels like it has a hold on you and feels so personal and powerful and deep, what if all of that is just way up here and we're just used to staring at that and thinking it's us? What if it's just this very innocent case of mistaken identity where we get so tangled up in our experience and then we find ourselves looking at it and thinking about it and trying to change it and trying to fix it and analyze it without even realizing we're doing that. Our mind is just doing that. And then we say, see, nothing ever changes. It's always the same. I felt this way forever, and like, what if there was a way to see that's going on, just see what's happening, see that that's what's going on. And by seeing more and more deeply and clearly that that's what's going on, we start to see around it. Like it just starts to feel less personal and like something we need to pull up a chair and watch and pay attention to. And when that's the case, when we're less invested in what's showing up in our heads, we fall back into our true nature. We experience what's there beyond all of that psychology and all of that thinking. And it's only good stuff there. It's only good stuff. So this direction that the Little School of Big Change points in is totally different than everything else. Like it just is, and so we haven't tried everything, but our mind will convince us that we have. One of my change conversations on the podcast, my podcast Changeable, was with a woman named Tammy who did the school, I think a year ago. It was a year ago, last spring she did it. And she says in the episode, she had done everything, tried everything. Me too. And I actually had to cut her off in the episode because she had a list, and then she emailed me later with even more things she forgot to mention of all the things she had tried and all the reasons, really, really good, valid reasons her mind was giving her that she's crazy to try something else, crazy to invest more time and effort and energy and money into getting better, because clearly nothing was ever going to change for her. And she came on this Q&A on, I think it was the very last day of enrollment before she joined last spring. And I remember her question popping in there, and she shares it on the podcast. I don't remember exactly how she said it, but something like, I've tried everything. Like, why in the world would I do this? And according to her, I said something like exactly what I'm saying right now. You haven't tried this. You just haven't. And, even for those of us who have been looking in the direction of this understanding in various ways, that's wonderful. It's beautiful. And sometimes it takes a little time. Sometimes it takes just being more in the conversation. Sometimes it takes being more in the conversation with different people and just different ways of sharing. So none of it has anything to do with failure or did that already or should have worked or anything. It's just how we work. We stay looking, hopefully for our entire lives. And throughout our entire lives, we just see more and more, and it gets easier and better. So, okay, so let's see. What other questions are there? Let me go to like kind of a logistical one to lighten up a little bit. So people have all kinds of questions about sort of the format. So let me just tell you a little bit about the format and sort of how the school works, and that'll probably hit a lot of these. So the way the school works is that there, as I mentioned, there's a core curriculum and an advanced curriculum. They consist of video lessons that are about 10 minutes each. So I try to keep them very short and very to the point, but not like a podcast, not like random videos. It's a I kind of created the school as if I was writing a book. So if I were to take someone through this understanding, through everything at the point that I created it, I was saying to myself, if I wanted to walk someone through everything I've seen over the years, help the thousands and thousands of people that I've seen find freedom from habits, have different experience of their anxiety and depression, like how would I walk them through that? And it was funny because I created the school about 2 years, a year and a half or 2 years after the Little Book of Big Change was, well, probably a good 2 years after I wrote the Little Book of Big Change. So it takes a while for a book to come out. But I had been done writing that book for a couple years by the time I created the school. And so it was very easy for me at that point, and I worked with a ton of people in the meantime, very easy for me at that point to forget everything I knew, like could just completely set that book aside and say, I don't really care what the book says. I'm doing this from scratch. So what would I want this person to see? Like, what would they need to wake up to? What would they need to consider? What would they need to see around? Like, what are the common traps they would need to see around? What would help them? What kind of conversations or supplemental materials or things like that would help bolster this and help them wake up to these truths? And that's what the school is. So it's a full curriculum that really goes from a beginning to an end. You don't skip around. It walks you through this. And it's been tested now for almost 3 years, and we've made lots of changes to it based on a ton of feedback about, we just get feedback on what works and what doesn't, what people love, what they don't love, what's confusing, that kind of stuff. We've clarified a ton. We've changed it around. We made changes based on feedback over the years. And I just love it. I'm just so proud of it. I think it's an amazing curriculum, amazing set of lessons. And it truly does walk you through this from start to not finish, because I don't think there is a finish, but from start to somewhere else. And it's really cool to see what opens up for people in that time. So the way it works is that each week you get about an hour's worth of video lessons. Again, it could be a video lesson and a conversation. It could be animations, a variety of things. And then you watch that at your own time. You have lifetime access to that. You have lifetime access to all the content, all the lessons, because that's really important, because we don't hear this always the first time through. Many people join the school really because they're excited about that lifetime access. They go through on their own all the time, several times a year, and they're constantly hi Susanna, constantly making little like reaching out to me and saying like, did you change this? Is this lesson new? Or like, whoa, I can't believe this was in there before, because the first 2 times through I didn't hear it, but now I really heard it. So that's just how we work. It's obviously not, lessons aren't changing, but it's how we work. We hear more, we open up, we have a deeper understanding of things, and then we see new things all the way through. So you have lifetime access to the content. You get about an hour per week, which you go through at your own time as much as you want, as many times as you want. We have a private forum, as I mentioned, not on Facebook here. It's within our school, because there are a lot of people in the school that aren't on Facebook and don't want to be. So it's really amazing, super supportive. I'm in there all the time for 6 weeks, supporting people on the forum. Amanda Jones, who's been with the school since it very first opened, is also in there with me all the time. So we're coaching people on the forum a lot. Terry Whiteman is a newer coach who's been, this will be her second or third, I think her second time supporting the new students in the school. So she's also a coach in there on the forum. So you take in the lessons, you chat on the forum, you ask your questions, you get answers. Every question you ask gets addressed, even with a couple hundred people in the course. Everything you ask gets addressed and spoken to. It just does. Every coaching request you have gets honored, and you get the help that you need, even in a group. So we're doing that on the forum in between, throughout the week. And then starting next week, and then for the whole 6 weeks, we have 2 90-minute calls every week. And those 90-minute calls are an opportunity for me to jump on and kind of, I usually kick it off by going a bit deeper into the lessons, going at like expanding on things that I've seen on the forum, questions people have brought up, concerns, things people are asking for coaching around. So I go a lot deeper into that. It brings it to life. It's current, and so it takes it deeper from what you've seen in the lessons. And then I turn it over and we do a lot. We do, whatever's left of the 90 minutes of coaching, questions. And, there are people from 42 countries, more than that now. That was my old number, but we have some new countries, which I'm really excited about. People from more than 42 countries in the school. It's always been a global community that joins, and this time is no exception. And so much of what happens comes from being in that community. It's not from me. It's not from my coaching or my teaching nearly as much as it is from seeing other people just like yourself get support, seeing what they come with and watching them wake up to, oh, that's my thinking too. Oh, I'm actually okay. Now I see it over here. Now I see it over here. There's something amazing about seeing people wake up to who they are and how their experience is created, especially when it's something that you don't struggle with so much. People ask all the time, why isn't the school specifically for this kind of habit or that kind of habit? Or this type of anxiety or whatever. The real reason is they're all the exact same. That's the honest to God true answer. All of these things, they appear very different. They are all exactly the same. Everything, every way that any human being suffers comes down to the exact same innocent misunderstandings about who we are and how our experience works. And so it really wouldn't make sense at all to have said, unless someone only liked to talk about a certain topic, the same understanding clears up everything. So that's the real reason. The other reason is that when you come in because you're having panic attacks, or you come in because you are caught up in binge eating or drinking more than you want to, or hoarding or shopping or whatever, and you see someone else who's equally caught up in something that is not what you struggle with, you hear that in a different way. Your mind isn't in there saying, oh, what's she going to say? How does this apply to me? How can I make this fit my life? Because it's not. It's clear that it's someone else and it's their life and it's a different issue. And every single time for the past 3 years that this course has been running, that's where people find so much insight. They say, oh my gosh, when so-and-so had their massive insight, into what was behind their panic attacks, my shopping habit, I shifted around that. So it's really cool how it works in that way. And what that really shows us and comes down to, again, is it isn't about fixing anything. There's nothing in what this understanding I share, what Little School of Big Change does, that's about fixing anything. It's so much deeper than that. It's about coming to see, what the thing is anyway. We don't fix shadows. You see that it's a shadow, and then it no longer freaks you out. And that's what everything in the whole curriculum, the whole community, and everything I write and talk about and all of that is about, is just revealing what's already there, revealing the truth so that we can have a clear understanding of who we are and how our experience works, rather than being caught up in the misunderstanding. Okay. So if you're joining and you have questions, go ahead and post them. I have a ton that have been submitted, so I'm going to keep going down my list here. So that's kind of just an overview of how the course works. So we meet for our twice weekly calls. Everything is recorded, again, with people in multiple time zones. Many people don't make any calls live. I love when people do. Most people do make at least most of them or some of them. Some people just can't make any, and it's okay, because again, you have lifetime access to all the content, and all the calls are recorded and posted right away. So people just listen and take it in at their own time. Another thing we do on our forum, I mentioned that every question gets answered, every coaching request gets honored, is before the calls on the forum, there's a thread that I post every week that asks for questions, especially if you can't be live on the calls. You can put your questions there either way, but you put your questions there. That way, if you can't join because it's the middle of the night for you, or you have to work during that time or whatever, I speak to your questions on the call, and I speak to it, as fully as I can. And then when you watch the recording, you get your personal attention that way. So it's really designed to be accessible, even if you can't be there live for every bit of it. Another question. Yeah, that description answered a lot of these logistical questions. That's great. Another question that is a really common one is around people basically saying, like, you're everywhere. You've written all these books. You have this podcast. You do Ask Amy every week. Like, we hear from you all the time, which I hope that's a good thing. They hear from me all the time. How is the Little School of Big Change different? How is this different? Like, why wouldn't I just go to your YouTube channel and watch everything you have there? And it's a great question. It's a really great question. This school was created to fill all the gaps, and there are many, I think, in all of that other stuff. So first, let me say, it's amazing that for all the people that are out there putting out free content, blogging and podcasting and YouTubing and all of that stuff, so much we can all see just from that, right? And we know that. We have all, I think many of us have had our lives changed by free content, by, just by following someone's podcast and things like that. So amazing what that can do. So great that we have that available to us. And it's not at all like something like the Little School of Big Change. It's not at all like a guided course. It's not at all like being coached, really, Like I mentioned, the school follows a curriculum that I spent months creating, thinking, okay, I'm going to walk someone through from nothing to something. Podcasts don't do that. Mine does a little bit in the first few episodes. It really kind of is like a mini course. But then it's like there's a guest and there's this topic, and that's how most of them are, right? So for sure, over time, you get a lot from that. But it's not at all the same as joining a 6-week course, immersing yourself in something, showing someone, what you're getting and what you're not getting, asking your questions, being in conversation and community around all this. You can see a lot by just taking in free content. But if you've done that and you want to go deeper, if you've done that and you feel like there's a lot more you can see, if you've done that and it feels slower than you wish it was, that makes sense, right? You're taking in random bits of free content. It's not at all the same as immersing in a 6-week program that is all about you and designed to get you to see a lot more, a lot faster. So to me, they're just two completely different creatures, the free content and the course, not even the same thing at all. And, you don't have to do the course, but if you want a really fast, efficient, guided, supportive way to have some change sooner rather than later, that's what it's created for. Okay. Another logistical question, then I'll go into some deeper questions, is often about support afterward. So I don't talk about this a lot beforehand because it's not really relevant beforehand, but many people know that we do have the Little School of Big Change. After the 6-week course, we have a graduate community. There are hundreds of people in that community. We have our own private forum that is incredibly active. We're in there talking, supporting each other all the time. My coaches, Amanda and Terry, are in there supporting people as well, as am I, all the time. We have weekly calls for that community. We have for 3 years. So we have weekly calls. I have guest speakers that come in. You get coaching anytime you want it, basically. So that's what's on offer. It's not on offer until you do the 6-week course, because when we come into that, we like to have a common foundation, kind of a common grounding. So once you go through the 6-week course, you have the option of joining that. And it never really occurred to me to talk about it until people had gone through the course for whatever reason. But especially recently, I just get a lot of questions about that. I think it makes sense, when people can kind of see, okay, I think this course could help me a lot, but then am I just going to be left on my own at the end, So it's helpful to kind of know that there are options and possibilities. The graduate community is $39 a month. There's no contract. You cancel or pause your membership whenever you feel like it. If you're going on vacation, you just pause it for a month or whatever. There's absolutely no pressure, no commitment. But just so you know, again, for $39 a month, you get to stay in this community and get coached and get support and hear from guest speakers as long as you want to. So it's a really great thing, I guess, to kind of look forward to. Okay, let's see. Couple other questions that were sent in, and if you have questions, go ahead and post them here. I've addressed a lot already, all the logistical stuff that I've gotten. Can this help me? Have tried everything. Okay, so I think, can this help me with? We haven't spoken to yet. I think I started with the I've done everything. So I kind of touched on it. If you're not familiar with what I share and how this understanding works, it isn't content specific. It's not issue specific. It's not about changing our psychology. It's not about changing your thoughts. It's not about changing your feelings. It's not about behaving in a different way. But all of those are byproducts of it. All of those are consequences of it. What we're really looking toward, and I know this is just a phrase that means something to me and it sounds kind of vague until it means something to you, but what we're really looking toward is having a deeper sense of who we are beyond our psychology and how our experience works, meaning moment to moment to moment, we feel thought brought to life within us, and then it washes away. And that's always happening throughout our lives. All of our suffering comes from being so caught up in our experience, which is fleeting, moving, changing psychology that is not even personal. It is not about us. It is not ours. It is life. Like, we are consciousness. We are the container. And this experience is constantly pouring through us. And again, experience, what I mean when I say that, it's the same as me saying it's our psychology. It's our thoughts, it's feelings, it's what we do, it's what we think, it's what we're afraid of, it's what we're excited about. It's all this psychological experience that is not who you are, not even close, because it's always changing. It's always coming and going and moving and has nothing to do with who you are. But all of our struggles in life, our habits, our addictions, all of our suffering come from identifying with that experience as if it is who we are, as if it is ours, as if it means something about us. That is the basic set of misunderstandings, I guess, that the school really clears up for people. And thousands of people have been through this school. More have many more have studied this larger understanding and kind of looked in this direction and have found so much peace and so much freedom from whatever's in the way. It's a little bit like, taking an aspirin. And if your hip hurts, that's going to be helped. If your head hurts, that's going to be helped. Like, you don't take an aspirin for a headache, a different aspirin for a headache versus a knee pain versus a hip pain. Like, one thing does it. It goes where it's needed. And that's how this understanding is. It's not about a fix, because there is no problem. It's truly about seeing there are no problems. There's innocent, simple misunderstanding and identifying with our experience as if it's us and who we are, as if it's personal. And then we just get really tangled up in it. And then we need to eat and drink and add all kinds of things to try to help ourselves feel better. And the only problem is, again, not that there's a problem, is that we've lost our connection with who we really are. And we've only lost it temporarily. We can't lose it. We just think we've lost it. And so we get scared and we rush to add and get ourselves into all kinds of trouble. So as human beings begin to wake up to this bigger understanding, this bigger sense of who we are and how our experience works and all of that, all kinds of things change. If you have a specific habit, you will very likely have some insights around that. You will probably also very likely have some insights around your marriage or your career or whatever else there is in life. That's kind of the beauty in this, and that's something we talk about a lot, especially early on in the school, is that when we come into this thinking, okay, I need this to help me fix X, we have that tunnel vision, and we're far less likely to see something that's actually helpful and that's actually new and different and from wisdom or from common sense about X. Again, that's why watching other people being coached and having insights is so helpful for all of us, because we have nothing on it. You listen to that with curiosity. You listen to that with wonder. You begin to see, oh, we're all the same. We all have the exact same blueprint. We all work in the exact same way. Then what's up here? My issue and my problem, and fix this and make that different. Not even part of the equation. Like that's just where our specific thinking goes in a moment. That's not where anything good's waiting. Where all the freedom is waiting is in seeing how we're all the same and how we operate. So it's not about changing what you're thinking or how you're acting or how you're feeling. It's about seeing that you're thinking and feeling and acting, and we all are. And that is just how human beings operate. And it's not you. And it's always changing. And there's no problem with it. It's nothing we have to get so caught up in and identified with. And as we see that, all kinds of stuff that's extraneous, which is pretty much everything except love, peace, and wisdom, all kinds of stuff that's not needed, that's added, that's conditioned, that's part of our psychology that we're holding on to, it just falls away. It just falls away in a totally new way because we just see it for what it is, and we're more connected with who we truly are beyond it. So I know that if you're new to this, that might sound a little bit vague in the beginning. And a lot of this does, but not for long. Truly not for long. Like, that's one of the most fun things of going through this 6-week journey with people and watching it go from, what are you talking about? Like, what do you mean? Who am I? And what is all this? And it feels very kind of fuzzy, although we resonate with it. You know, like there's a resonance there. There's a sense of truth there that has people interested in listening and really kind of feeling nice and kind of feeling peaceful as they listen to it. But our head can't get it. Our head will never get it. But then throughout the time, what seems so vague and fuzzy and fluffy and what do you mean, it just becomes more solid. It just makes sense. Like, you just have a feel for it. A lot of that is our mind just stopping the fight to figure it out, because none of what we share in the school is intellectual. None of it. It doesn't matter at all if your mind grasps it. In fact, if you think your mind has it, you're probably not seeing very much. It's not something that we aim to understand in that way. It's something that you just wake up to and you just kind of get a feel for. So that's how and why, if that makes sense, that's how and why this understanding helps anyone with anything. It can help anyone with anything, and why there's no special conversation around this specific problem or that specific problem. Not that it's off limits. I mean, sometimes there is, because we're humans and we're just dealing with what humans are dealing with. So we talk about specifics, but we don't look to the specifics for the answers, because that's not where the answers are. The answer is that you're healthy and peaceful and have everything you need already. And you're just caught up in some stuff up here that's in the way of you seeing that. That's it. That's the simple answer all the time. Now, how to wake people up to that is where we get really creative. And that's why we explore this for 6 weeks, and then hopefully for a lifetime afterward, because it just keeps getting better, keeps getting deeper. Okay. All right. Let me see. I see some questions here, which is awesome. Great to see you guys here. Great question. Parv asks, and I'm so happy to have you in school, Parv. I'm excited to see you there. What did those who got the greatest benefit in past courses do different from those who got the least? I love this question. So what sets you up? Like, what we can do, to the extent that we can do anything. Now, we aren't in charge of our insights, right? Like, it's not about us to work harder or do more or watch the videos 4 times instead of 2. None of that, right? So it's not under our control. We aren't in charge of it. And there are certainly kind of ways of being that I see be far more helpful for some people. The thing I would say that we can do to prepare ourselves, or that kind of sets you up to see the most in this exploration, is, and I start off this way and really kind of keep moving us through with this in mind, is to just be curious and explore. And so you will hear very shortly, Parv, and others of you who are in the course, me talk about what if all the time. Like, what if it really works this way? As soon as I say, what if you are actually 100% healthy and you've never not been? What if you have everything you need? What if you do not have that habit the way you think you do? What if you do not have that addiction or that anxiety or that depression the way you think you do? As soon as I say that, what happens is this little guy comes up and just starts screaming. But look what I ate yesterday, and look what I drank last week, and look how I treated my kids, and look how this went, and look how that went. Every single time we start to look in this direction, our mind will come in and find all the exceptions and argue with it and talk about it and, try to convince you that you're not okay and overthink it and all of that. And the more we can just see that that's how it goes, that that's what's going to happen, the more we just move through. So the people that get so much out of this are just curious. They're doing their best, and it's not, a mind is going to compare. A mind is going to say, look at his insight and yours isn't like that and all of that. But what the people who really get the most from this do is they see that that's just their mind saying that. They're just open, and they're not trying to figure it out with their heads so much. And they're loose around what they need to see and how it should go. That's huge, because our mind comes in and says, without us even recognizing it, our mind comes in and says, okay, 6-week course, by week 5, I should be good. All my problems should be gone. Week 6, I'll just kind of hang out. Like whatever our mind makes up about how it's going to go, dead wrong. But we get caught up in that and we believe it. So a lot of what we see like through the 6-week course is a lot of managing that. And it's great. It's great that comes up, because we just get to talk about it and see, yeah, everybody's mind does that in their own way. So stay open, be curious. Whatever you want from this, whatever that habit you want to see differently, or the insight you want to have, or the relationship you want to be different, the anxiety you want to go away, know that that's what your mind really wants, but also kind of just hold that very loosely and set it aside and just let me guide you, let me help you open up to all this without your head having to get in and manage how it goes. And it's going to be amazing. It's a great question. Oh, thanks, Patricia. I love some of the nice comments. Okay, so Susanna says, my worst habit is drinking, and my understanding is that the reason I can't drink again is because of neural pathways and subconscious limiting beliefs that I need to unearth and discard. This seems to contradict with the 3 Ps concept somehow. Three Ps, which is part of what has influenced me, part of what the Little School of Big Change is kind of based upon. It's a different ballpark. So it doesn't contradict that there are neural pathways and all that. We just don't look there. That's not, and we don't ignore that. We don't deny it, but that's not where we're looking. Where we're looking in the Little School, and I'm not going to speak for the 3 Ps because I'm not 3P. I'm just Amy Johnson, Little School of Big Change. So where the Little School of Big Change looks is how our experience comes to life and who we are beyond that experience. When you have neural pathways that are habituated to go in a certain direction, when you have subconscious limiting beliefs that are habitual, we all do. That's fine. You are not a prisoner of that. That cannot lock you into anything. It creates experience. But again, if your experience is over here saying drink, 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 and you are seeing, oh, that's my psychology. That's my experience. This is a habitual feeling coming up. This is a habitual urge, but who's the one noticing that? Like, who's the one watching all this stuff show up? Who are you? Because you aren't your brain. You're not your brain at all, Susanna. You're not neural pathways. You're not subconscious beliefs. Like, you are so much bigger than that. So it's really about seeing, again, which I get as a vague phrase until it isn't, who you are and how your experience works is what starts to free you from it. You don't have to go back and, I'm going to see how you said it, unearth and discard old beliefs and all of that, because we're not looking at the level of what you thought. Like, we all have we all have a million beliefs. We all have a million thoughts, and the content of it, where we're looking, is just deeper than that. So it's not inconsistent. It's just deeper. It's just a totally different direction. We're looking at what thought is. We're looking at that, Susanna, every single time you feel tight or uncomfortable or far from home, emotionally far from home, anytime you want to drink, anytime you feel an urge to do anything or a pull to do anything, you are in experience. You are in your moving, changing psychological experience. That is not you. That experience comes and it goes. It works like clockwork because it comes from your brain, which is a machine. So it's very mechanical and very machine-like in that way. That's just what a machine does. You are not a machine, Susanna. You are so much bigger than that. And as we start to get a feel for who we are beyond how our mind's talking and what we're pulled to do and this feeling and that feeling, it is incredible the kind of resilience and strength that wakes up within us, that we start to feel part of. And then you feel and think all kinds of things. And it doesn't really matter because none of those things are pulling you around. You're no longer like this dog, just being pulled on a leash, like by your brain. Your brain's doing stuff and you're knowing you're not it. You're noticing it. You're knowing that it can't make you do anything. So that's the kind of understanding we're looking toward. It is, again, it's not inconsistent with pathways and all that. That's just a fact of our form. It's just how it's part of our brain. But no, we don't have to go back and unearth and dissect and analyze all that at all. We see that we aren't it, and that does the job. And it does the job so much more deeply and efficiently and completely than spending hours and months and years in many cases, looking at what's done and over in the past. So I hope that helps a little bit. Let me know. Ask a follow-up question if you have one. I like what Marcia said. Why even bother looking at thoughts when we can just simply look at the nature of thought? That's really it, and we do have thinking, like we do have to say it sometimes. So sometimes it's like, I really feel this, I really think this, and it's not that it's never helpful to do that, but what Marcia said is right on. Like, we can just look there, which is what everything does. Every other thing out there, for the most part, I'm exaggerating, but I'm generalizing, but most of all of self-help and psychology and all of that, it stops at what are you thinking, and let's help you see that's not true. Well, then what about the next thought that pops up and the next one that pops up? And we can't just play whack-a-mole and beat all those down all the time. And when we do, yes, we have some insights. We see, oh, it's all thinking. But what this understanding does is give you this much bigger framework for it. It helps you see exactly where all your experience comes from. Truly, like what your feelings are there to show you. Your feelings are a compass for you, but we all misunderstand them so much. We feel stuff we don't like, and then we try to fix something out in the world to make that feeling go away. That is not at all what feelings are meant for. So that's one of the huge misunderstandings that we start to clear up, when we see that our feelings are just showing us where our thinking is going. Our feelings are the exact same as thought. They're both the same. So they're just showing us what's coming up within us as thought, as experience. They're not something we ever need to fix or run from or numb away or go change our life out there to make our feelings different. It'll never work that way. And that's what most of us innocently are trying to do because we've just been kind of pointed in the wrong direction. So this understanding goes so much deeper, so much, I just can't say enough about it. It is completely different from any kind of self-help or psychology that I've seen out there. And it gets to the core of things. It helps you see who you are already, like what's already working for you, and that we have this amazing design, and that our experience is not about us. It's not personal. Everything we think and feel, our mind comes in and says, me, 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 and makes it all about us. And that's just what a mind does. It doesn't mean it's true. That's what a mind does. And when we start to see through that, it's amazing how much falls away from your mind, how much quieter your mind gets, because you're not feeling like you need to pay attention to all of that narrative in your head, because why would you? Everybody has it. And it's all pretty much the exact same, except theirs is talking about them and yours is talking about you. That's kind of the only difference. When we see that there's another place to look for guidance, toward our health, toward peace, toward answers, toward clarity, toward freedom from habits and anxiety. Another place to look, besides getting caught up in the weeds of what our mind is talking about, besides going into the past and picking apart things that are done and over, there's a whole other direction to look in. And that's who we truly are beyond all this psychology. So when we start to look there, it doesn't take much. It really doesn't. I mean, we're made for it. We're designed to look there. We're designed to just be just like little kids, incredibly resilient, have our experience just move through us, get to experience it all, but not get caught up in it and weighed down by it and all of that. That's misunderstanding. It's not your fault. We're all in it, but that's misunderstanding. That is not our design. Our design, even as old people, even as adults at any age, no matter what we've been through, our design is such that we should be living and feeling like little kids. So meaning like we feel stuff, we just feel it, it moves through us. New stuff comes, like there's this aliveness, there's this presence and this way of just being in life rather than in your heads that we all know and see in children all the time. That doesn't expire. It only gets thought over. We only grow up and start thinking everything in our head is valuable and meaningful, and I need this to help me get through life. And that's where we go wrong. That's where we start getting caught up, and then we say, why does my life feel so heavy and flat and dull? And why do I want to drink all the time? Why do I want to eat all the time? Like, that's why we're just living in our heads. We're not living in the life that's right in front of us. So that's what this understanding does. It wakes you up to the life that has always been within you, right in front of you and within you. It's all the same thing. Outside, inside, it's all one. But it wakes us up to it so we can truly experience it. So Susanna says, just a follow-up, so just the awareness of the discomfort as it arises and knowing it will pass is enough. It is, and there's a lot to see in that. So I'm hesitant to just say, yep, that's it, because we can be aware and we can be aware. So we really, but you're right, Susanna. It's in that direction. We're really exploring to the point to where we're so aware that we just know it. You feel stuff, and you wouldn't even call it discomfort anymore necessarily. You feel stuff that used to be discomfort, that used to lead you to drink, that used to do all that, and it's just experience. It's just life. Or it's like, oh yeah, I'm feeling uncomfortable, feeling not so good. But it's not so emotional. It's not so personal. We don't need to change it or fix it. She said, I think the habit comes from blindly reacting without even noticing what the feelings were. Is this it? I mean, for sure. Yeah, a lot of our habit, we feel something and we just reach. We feel something and we reach. That's no question going on for everyone with habits and addictions to some extent. So you're right. What is it? What is it that we're feeling is where we really look. What is this feeling that we're reaching and adding all this harmful stuff to not feel? And when we really look at that, I can just tell you how it looks to me, but it's for all of us to explore and discover on our own. What we're really pushing away is nothing. What we're really pushing away is this energy that moves through us, and then our mind saying, oh, better drink, don't feel it, that's bad. And when we start to see through this, it turns into, oh, I'm just feeling life. I'm just feeling energy. I can feel this. I'm feeling open and closing. I'm feeling constricting, and I'm feeling this expansive,ness or this restriction. Whatever it is, it's not that bad when we really look at it. And again, don't say, that's not like, okay, well, now you know it's not that bad when we really look at it. There's your answer. I can tell you all day long, it's for you to explore. It's for all of us to deeply explore on our own and really get curious about and really see for ourselves, because that's how change happens. And when change happens that way, it is deep and you don't go back. I mean, you have a sea change. Like you're in a different level of consciousness around it. That's where people all the time. I just talked with a woman this morning, hasn't drank in years, and she's like, I cannot believe it took me this long. That when you're in that level of consciousness, you think, I'll never feel comfort again. I'll never be relaxed again. I need this. Like, what's it gonna be? But when we have these insights and we see things and we change from the inside out, your consciousness changes. And this woman and many, many people, I mean, a majority of people who've gone through the school get to this place where they're like, I don't even want it. I can't believe it gave me so much comfort before. Now it gives me the opposite of comfort. And that's because we change. It's because we didn't just reach for a behavioral fix. We didn't just, try this app or this patch or this pill or this fix, this practice for 30 days. We saw ourselves and our lives in a brand new way. We saw ourselves and how our experience works in a brand new way that leads you to see everything differently, not just your habit. So that's what we do here that's why I can't tell you what's going to change. It's going to be lots of things. Probably a lot of things you don't even think need to change are going to change, because we're not just saying, oh, do this differently, or here's how you break a bad habit. We're not even having that conversation. We're having a whole other conversation that works in amazing ways, that wakes you up to things to where habits and addictions don't even make sense anymore. You don't get the same joy out of those substances or behaviors as you once did, because you are different. Isn't that awesome? I mean, that is so exciting. And that's truly how it goes. Same with anxiety, same with depression, same with all of that. It's not, we're not doing things to make ourselves change. We're seeing ourselves in brand new ways. And from that new way, old thoughts, feelings, behaviors, they don't make sense. They don't fit. You outgrow them. They don't fit in your life anymore. That's why this kind of change is deep and lasting. That's why I say that in everything I do. It's a deep, lasting change, because it's not about willpower. It's not about a fix. It's about a sea change. And we can't predict what's going to happen, and that's the good news. It's going to be far better. It almost always is far bigger and far better than our little minds can ever predict. All right, what other questions do you have? If you have other questions, let me know. Go ahead and post them. I love this. Marcia says, my son recently wanted to watch an IMAX movie about the Grand Canyon while we were yards away from the actual Grand Canyon. Isn't that funny how they offer that? Go outside. I insisted on experiencing the canyon while we were in it. That jumped out at me as a trick our minds do on us. So fascinating how we can just miss the gifts of not being open. Yeah. It's a great metaphor, because, I mean, that's what we're always doing, right? We're like at the Grand Canyon watching the movie of it, rather than opening our eyes to what's there. Right. It's always been there. That's right there under your nose. It's a great metaphor. I think innocently, that's what so much of our working towards something does. So people have a hard time sometimes opening up to having insights and letting habits fall away, letting addictions fall away, letting anxiety fall away and look different. They want a strategy. Usually not for long, but initially they want a strategy. They want something to do. They want something they can wrap their head around, and, a goal for themselves and all of that. And I think it's very much like your son wanting to watch the IMAX movie rather than go see the actual Grand Canyon. It's like it's familiar, and it busies our mind, and then we tell ourselves, oh, I'm working for it. I'm working hard. I'm going to deserve it if I actually get that freedom someday. And it's just a distraction. It's right under our noses. It always has been, but we get so busy in our heads that we miss it. And that's why I love, sharing this. I feel so grateful to get to share this, because it is truly just helping people relax. That's all it is, really. At the end of the day, you have to know how to help people relax. But when we relax, we see that we're already at the Grand Canyon. We see that we have everything we need. We see that we're healthy, that we actually have many, many, many moments of being completely habit and addiction free and anxiety free in our day right this minute. But we're so in our heads thinking, I have a problem, I have a problem, I have a problem, that we miss them. So in many ways, I mean, this is like a complete flip. It's like looking away from all that I have a problem stuff and looking and seeing what's right under our noses, what we have already available to us. And it's really amazing. It's really, really different direction to look in. Awesome, Susanna. Thank you guys, all my current students who are, or former students who are here. I'm so grateful for you. Thank you for sharing your experience. So if you have other questions, if you're watching this after the live, post them here. I will be back to this and I'll be answering questions all the time. I'm going to do another one of these Q&A sessions on Thursday this week at the same time, 1 o'clock Eastern. So if other questions come up for you, you can come to that one and ask them there. Many, many opportunities to reach out. Like I said, I'm just taking phone calls and on my email a lot, a lot this week. So reach out to me in any way that makes sense. I would love to talk with you, love to answer your questions. And I would really, really, really love to see you do this for yourself. And let me support you. Let me walk you through this understanding as I see it and as I've seen it help thousands of people. I can pretty much promise you, you won't be sorry. You will see and get so much from it that you can't even imagine right now sitting here today. And it may not look the way you think it's going to look, but it's usually a lot better. There are no words to even tell you how this understanding has impacted my life, continues to every single day. It gets deeper and better as time goes on. And I'm so grateful for it. And I love getting to share it. And I would love to support you a lot over the next 6 weeks in showing you this. So the school is open right now for people who enroll right now. You get in right away, as I mentioned in the beginning. You get the first block of content. You jump on our forum. We're already talking and helping people on the forum. Next week, we start our calls. So it's open right now, but the enrollment does close this Thursday, March 5th at midnight Eastern time. So you have to enroll for this course by Thursday night. And if you don't enroll by then you have to wait until October because of the high level of support and how much time it takes, and I'm in there all the time. All of your questions get answered. I only do this twice a year. So this is it for another 6, almost 7 months. So I would get in this one if I were you, and make sure you get in by Thursday. Again, after Thursday, it's going to be closed until October. So please, thank you for being here. Send me any other questions that come up. And I really hope to get to see you in the school very soon. Thanks, guys.